Okay, so hello everyone. I believe everyone knows me, but I will say again, my name is Rotem. I am a shlicha in Maryland in a shul called Shari Torah or Shari Torah. And we have here with us a lot of people from all over the world. We have people from Gaithersburg, New Hampshire, and Israel, so far as I know, maybe other places as well. You're welcome to write in the chat if you are from
Oh,
somewhere.
Tel Aviv is also presented.
Okay, Tel Aviv is also represented. Perfect. And today we have with us my dad, Shmuel, who is a master inventor and usually deals with a lot of different inventions in many different fields. But of course, in these times, he is dealing a lot with the corona and inventions that are related to that. And because of his unique position as, I think, the only person who's a full-time inventor in Israel, he gets to talk to a lot of different interesting people and to hear a lot of ideas and to connect a lot of different people together, which puts him in a unique position of knowing quite a lot about the efforts that are done, mainly in Israel, but around the world as well. So yeah, thank you for joining us.
Okay, so okay, just setting my notes. Yeah.
Oh, and I will ask, so I will mute everyone. If you have any questions or anything, you're welcome to write that in the chat and we will stop and ask questions periodically.
I think if you mute everybody and they just unmute when they want to ask questions, this is good enough. Okay, so so I'm going to talk about inventing in Corona, and most of the people here know me, but just a little bit about myself. So I used to work in IBM. My title at work was a master inventor, and I used to do software engineering. And so this is what I used to do until about 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, I left IBM and I started inventing for many companies, which is what I do for a living. So I invent for maybe 15 companies, maybe 100, more than 100 inventions in the last 10 years. And what I do normally is I would come to a company and they would tell me what they need, and I will invent something that will make the company more valuable in the future. Now, I just want, as a short, to say what is a patent. I'm not going to talk about it for a long time. So a patent is basically an idea that you can protect, and I'll give an example. For example, PepsiCo asked me once how to make the trucks more valuable without changing what it is that they do, just use the fact that the trucks are there. So I had an idea that I will use the trucks and put landing pads for drones on the trucks. And then if you want to send a drone from, say, Tel Aviv to Netanya, which is too far for the drone, you would ask, like in a GPS, is there a truck that I can land on? And then it lands on the truck, it goes to Netanya, it goes off the trucks and deliver the lunch or whatever. So somebody is not muted, I don't know.
Alyssa, can you please mute yourself? I can't seem to do it.
Okay. So for this to be an invention, it has to be something that people in the field can understand. And people in the field know how to land drones on trucks, and they know how to do GPS, and they know how to deliver. So this could be an invention, and indeed it is an invention. And I just want to give the explanation of what an invention is, because for me as an inventor, I don't need to know how to do everything. I need to understand what other people can do. And I need to explain the invention in the sense that people from the field can implement it. So sometimes people think, well, somebody else implemented it, it's not my problem. Like they tell me I will use the phone camera to figure out corona. I will just look at somebody and I will make the picture large enough and I will see the corona. That's not an invention because it just doesn't work. So for invention, you have to figure out what actually works, and learning the correct level can be difficult. Before I continue, we'll be talking about Corona and about ideas that I want to give for free. And it turned out that in the past, I've never been able to give ideas for free. So I can sell idea. I sold loads of ideas and I lots of patents created, but whenever I was trying to share for free, it just didn't work. I'll give an example of an idea that I tried to give for free. I had an idea that loneliness, which is a big issue that we are facing now, I mean, like a really big issue. One thing that we need to do is get people to talk to the people because loneliness is dangerous. It's actually more dangerous than smoking a full packet a day. So my idea was how to get people, lonely people, mainly elderly, to talk to each other outside physically. And it was difficult because I want to use technology and the people that I want to help with technology don't know how to use technology. So I had to come up with an idea of technology that they can use. And I had this idea, actually made it all the way to a hackathon and show that it works. But maybe because it was free, I was never able to give this idea. So when we'll be talking about now, we'll be talking about inventions soon, but in the beginning, it seems that I actually know nothing that is useful for what we are trying to do, because I'm not a medical doctor and I don't do deep learning myself. I'm a generalist. I learn lots of things and I try to combine them and I try to invent. So the story starts a month and a half ago. I was attending a school on biometrics, which is how to identify people how to identify people using irises, fingerprints, voice, face recognition, of course, all sorts of things. And I went just generally because I like to know things. And a woman from Carnegie Mellon came, her name is Rita Sinch, and she gave a talk about voice biometrics. And it turned out that from the voice of the people, you can learn a huge amount of things. So if you listen to somebody, you can understand how the entire voice track is combined, how long this part is, and where this is, and how big is the skull. And you can learn so much just from the voice that if you hear somebody, not you, but if a computer hears somebody, you can actually make a picture of the skull. So that's quite amazing. And also, all sorts of things impact your voice cords. For example, when you drink tea, it impacts your voice cords. And when you drink coffee, it impacts your voice cords in a different way. So when they listen to you, they can actually tell if you drank tea or coffee in the last half an hour and which of them. Okay, so I'm going to it and I'm telling people there's those amazing things happening with this voice that I've never heard about. It's quite amazing. And then Corona comes around. And what is Corona? It's a sickness that impacts the upper respiratory system, and it changes, it changes the way the lungs work, it changes the way you talk, it changes the cords. So it seems totally reasonable that if you do voice forensic, you should be able to do it with voice forensic, like you do other things. And it's not an invention. It's sort of like a pretty obvious thing to do. And there are actually companies, including companies in Israel, but also companies in the US, that what they do is they listen to the sound that people make, and from that they figure out which disease they have. So those things already exist. Okay, so I figure I'll ask Rita. I mean, it's sort of obvious, but not everything that is always obvious to me is obvious to other people. So I figure I'll ask Rita and ask her, well, what's happening? Why don't we have a Corona voice detector? So I send him an email and she says, well, that's not going to work like that because in health, it will take 3 years. I ask her, why 3 years? He says, well, you have to collect the data and we have Helsinki and we have all sorts of problems and then we have to get approvals and we have this and we have that. So I ask her, okay, if I collect the data, how long will it take you to create a voice detector? And she says, well, maybe a week. So I think to myself, maybe I should collect data. But then I have these problems and that I know that if I'm going to do it for free, nobody is going to do it. I figure I might try as well. I mean, whatever I have to lose. So I post on Facebook at 9 in the morning. This is last Wednesday. No, sorry, the Wednesday before. 9 in the morning that I'm looking for people to create for me a website that collects voice data. And what I want to do with it is I want to have voice data from people who have corona, and I want voice data from people who don't have corona. And then I will make it available to all researchers, to anybody who wants to use it. And they will figure out, they'll be able to make a voice detection that you can talk to and tell you if you have corona. So I put this post and I start driving to Tel Aviv, and I stop in the middle to buy multifocals. So I go into the exam and it takes me like 2 hours, and I'm out and I'm looking at my phone and things seems to be happening. So there's this guy called Eden Shochat, who is a very connected Israeli VC. And he thought that my idea is a good idea. So he opens a group in Facebook, which he calls Corona Busters. And he put some people in it, and they are already having 90 messages in it in the time that I didn't know that the group exists. And at the time that I was doing my eye exam, and they want to know what it is that I want them to do. So I'm in charge now, and they want something now. So we start working, and more people join, and lots of traffic, like 200 messages. And then a startup comes in, says, this is a startup that does something sort of related. They do, they're not medical, they do bots that chats with you. So basically it's like a chat box, but with voice. So they know how to collect voice and stuff. It's called Voca. So they join and they volunteer to make the website. So now I have somebody that will make the website for me. And the day after I go and visit them, this is before lockdown, so we are still allowed to visit people. And I'm at work in Herzliya, I go visit them, and they say it will be working. And the guy in charge of this, well, the CTO, well, he's religious, but you know, I'm expecting something to happen on the weekend. He says, yes, we'll work on it over the weekend. And I'm thinking, he's working on it, or other people are working on it over the weekend, but you know, it's a nice with religious CTOs that are willing to work over the weekend, but obviously, saving life counts. So they start working on it. And the goal is to collect data and make it available to researchers. So last Wednesday, they were very worried, it didn't happen yet, that they will need to collect loads and loads of people. It will depend on how viral the website will be as opposed to the corona. So we were hoping that many people will get to know about it. So they made a website with a really strong way to collect that will not cross. And they made it available, and they started collecting last Wednesday. So far, we had about 1,000 people that donated voice, and of them, tens that are sick. We also had other ways to collect it, which I'll be talking about it, and we export it for people who want to do research. By now, a number of other people are thinking about it. So this is like a week after I started, other people are starting to do it. And they are approaching me and they want to cooperate. And of course, I'm willing to cooperate with anybody. But my sole condition is that whatever they collect will be shared with everybody, because I want everybody to enjoy the result of their voice so they can make it. And some of them can't do that because they are companies and because they want to make money. So this was true. They couldn't do it 3 days ago, but now they can. Seems the world is changing. So we'll be cooperating with them. And now in already also started collecting voice samples. So what we need to do now, we actually just had an hour ago another article in a popular site went up on us, and we're hoping that there'll be a Wall Street Journal article soon. But what we need to know is we need to be able to get to people to advertise, so people will actually know about us. And if anybody in the call has ideas on how to do it, we'll be grateful. So the ideas that we had was that we make a website, and anybody that wants to donate will be able to come to the website and record his voice and some metadata like does he smoke and does he have allergies and stuff like that. And then we'll make the data available to everybody, and the researchers will be able to use it to do a detector. But there are other ways also to collect voice samples. For example, you can go to the hospital or to the people and ask them to record directly. This is hard for me to do. The hospitals were not willing to do it, and I can't get the numbers from the country of the people that are sick for reasons that are related to privacy. But the country efforts can. So Israel turned out, so last Wednesday, I'm called by the person in charge of the Israeli effort of voice analysis for Corona. So there is an Israeli round effort to do that. And I'm saying, how comes there is an effort and I've never heard about you? I mean, I've been like contacting everybody and doing all sorts of things. So it turned out that this is because the effort only started like 5 hours before he called me. But there is an Israeli effort, and now they're starting to do it, and they'll be able to collect people that will be able to do it. And just like last hour, I got an email from somebody who has 700 volunteers who will be helping us collecting voice samples. So another way that we can do it, which also started today, it turns out that lots of people, when they have something to say it on YouTube or Facebook. So there are lots of places in Facebook and YouTube where people that have Corona are speaking about what's happening to them. But regardless of what they are saying, we can get voice samples. So another project that I started today was on collecting voice samples from basically YouTube and Facebook. So hopefully, with this voice, what can we do with all those voice samples? So the first thing, sort of the obvious thing, is that we want, if somebody has the symptoms, we can tell him if what he has a symptom is with Corona or something else. And this is critical because while all of us are in isolation, which means, at least in Israel, which means that we are not supposed to go out for no reason out of the house, but we can go out, like for exercise or to shop or to do things. If you're actually sick, you're supposed to be in quarantine, which means that you're not supposed to go out because you don't want to spread it. So if you know the difference, this is good. The other thing is that it's our expectation that we will be able to tell, I don't know yet if it's true, but the expectation is that we'll be able to tell if you have Corona 1 or 2 days before you actually have the symptoms. Now, to do that, I need to have a class of people that have recorded their voice 2 days before they had symptoms. And usually you don't know that it's 2 days before the symptoms when you record. So what we do is we ask people to come back daily. So if they develop the symptoms, we can take the days before and see that if we can classify it as 2 days before, and then be able to learn and tell people, you're probably going to have the symptoms in 2 days and you should be careful about going out. But another thing that it's possible to do, again, I don't know if it will work, like with many other things, you do the trajectory, and then you can get if somebody is about to get sick enough that maybe you should go to the hospital or should have some other intervention. Another thing that is a big advantage of voice testing is that you don't have to do something physical. You don't have to bring something to the person. Everybody can do it at home. You can do it at massive scale. If you're home and you know that you have it, then you have different rules. You can test people before they go to restaurants, and it's easier than other things and likely more accurate. But we don't know. We try. So those are the things that that I thought about talking about relating to the main effort that I've been working on, which is detecting corona using voice. And I'm actually only involved in the data collection. So lots of people that want to use the data, scientists and multiple companies. So before I continue, maybe if you have any questions about what I said so far, before I move to other things that are related to inventions and corona.
And you can either unmute yourself and ask the question or write it in the chat, whatever is more comfortable.
Language make a difference in
Right. So the question was, will language make a difference? And it might. We don't know. So there are things that could make a difference. And when we collect the data, we ask the country and to figure out the original language, and it might make a difference. One of the people that will be working on it is a person that his company detect accents. So from any, this already exists. So from when you hear somebody speak, you can tell the accent, so you will know the original language. Currently, we don't think that it will make a difference, but I don't know the solution. And it's likely that what will be the most useful sound for detecting is coughs.
We have another question. Is this being tested with kids and adult voices?
So we are asking for people to donate voice, and we are asking for age. We're asking also for gender. It turns out that some of our site has male, female, and other site have a lot more options of those collecting. But we don't know. It should work for both kids and adults. It probably will work less well for kids, just because they don't show the symptoms as much. Okay, so I'll continue now to other things that I've been thinking about and trying to do. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is how to protect people that are in a car from each other. So a taxi driver takes you from the airport home, and you go to quarantine. But what happens in the taxi? That's not a good place for the taxi driver or for you. So both of you are probably worried. Because one of you may getting it from the other. And the question is, how can we protect you? So my idea was that what I will do is I will put ventilators on the windows of the car, and then I will take the air out from all the windows, and the air comes in from the outside. And then there is a lot less circulation in the car because the air comes from the outside and goes out through all the windows. And therefore, you are likely less breathing the air that somebody else produced. And then I thought, well, maybe one person in the car is more important to protect than the others. So for example, let's assume that I take my father in my car and I want to protect him more than I want to protect myself. So what I would have is I would have the air going out. I would have the air going out on all the windows except his, in which the air goes in. And then the pressure is from the person who is being protected to all the others. So the air doesn't go from us to him, but it does go from him to us. So I had this idea, and I talked to a friend of mine. His name is Itzik Pomerantz. He's an amazing inventor. He's one of the inventors of 3D, and he's the kind of person that you tell him something, and 5 hours later you have a prototype, which was also the case now. So I told him that, and 5 hours later he shows it how it's working in his car. And then we were trying to get it to other people, so it could help. Maybe I was thinking maybe we would want to use it in a bus, so the bus driver feel more protected, or in an ambulance. And then something interesting happens. I've been talking to many people. We have a unit in the army, which is generally very, very secretive unit called 8-1, which is the unit that is in charge of technology in intelligence. And you don't hear about it except the name, you don't know what it does. And this unit now became a bit less secretive because they're working on Corona. So suddenly, we have a very, very capable unit that usually does all sorts of amazing things, which I don't know what they are, working on Corona, and suddenly I get to know what they are. And it turns out that either they spy on me or they thought about the same ideas that I have been thinking separately, which makes a lot more sense because they could just ask me what I want to do. So one of the things that they did, for example, was created the solutions that I suggested for ambulance drivers. So they put something on the window of an ambulance driver that makes sure that he will not get air from the people inside. And they also put a physical barrier. And they're working on many, many Corona solutions. And this actually makes me seeing what it is that they work on and what it is that the entire high-tech Israel industry is working on. And I assume everybody else, and those are people, and all of them are against Corona, and I think they will win. So in this sense, I'm a lot more optimistic than I used to be. And they also do things which are not high technology. The army does things which are not high technology here, but are very useful. For example, they opened 20 daycares in the hospital for the kids of the doctors and the nurses. So the hospital, so the army soldiers are working now as daycare providers for. So if you're an essential person working in the hospital, the daycare is closed in Israel. Everything is closed. But you will have a daycare for you, which is provided by the army. So hopeful things are happening. Other things that I've been thinking of, and it turns out that they're doing it and others are doing it, is, for example, an app in which you track who are the people that you meet, and you know if you're suspect of being a Corona carrier. So if you met somebody who is sick, you might need to go to quarantine yourself. If you met somebody who might be, we don't know if he was a carrier, and we don't know if you're a carrier because it might have passed it to you. If we do the tracking, then we can do a lot more things that are actually being done now in the East, in Taiwan and Korea, maybe in Germany too, and will start in Israel soon. This is really against privacy in some ways, but it's really useful because let's assume that somebody is a carrier, and now you find out that 50 people have met him. I mean, you don't know if he's a carrier, but he might be. 50 people have met him, and now all of them might have to go into isolation. So you figure, well, maybe it's a good idea to test him now. And if you test him and it turns out that he's negative, then all the other people don't have to worry about. So there are all sorts of things that can be done with technology using tracking, and they're actually doing them. They're coming out, and this will annoy us because they track us for a while, but maybe will enable us to move around a lot more freely. Because if something happens, we can take care of it, and it doesn't spread like wildfire. Another idea that I've thought about, but I haven't gotten out yet, was an idea to help small shopkeepers. So you have a shopkeeper that sells something that allows him to stay open, let's say food or medicine or anything else. And, and they're taking a great risk because people are coming to them all the time. So what they would want to do possibly, sometimes it belongs to a family or something, this shop, is that you call them and you tell them what you need, and they put it in something, and it waits outside, and you come and you take it and you pay them. But they don't have any infrastructures to do that. So I thought something that could be very simple that would be useful to them is that many of those people, I don't know in the US, but in Israel, but certainly in the East, they already have access to application by which you can pay them. Transferring money applications are very common. So what you need to do is you need to add to those transferring money applications basically a chat application that will enable to, that will be arranged in advance, that will enable to do the shopping easily. So for example, I want to go and get something from the shops, and I open the shop, I tell him what I want. He said, okay, fine, it will cost you that much. I'm saying, is it ready? And he's saying, okay, now it's ready, you come and pick it. I come and pick it, he asks me to pay, I press the button. All of it is not high technology, it's very easy, but for a shopkeeper, he can't do it himself, so we need to help them do that. Basically combining the communication with the payment. So the last thing I wanted to stress is that I started by being a lot more worried than most of the other people around me, which is why I started to work earlier. And I was telling people that one of two things will happen. Either drastic things will happen, we'll take drastic measures like quarantine and do all sorts of things, or lots of people will die. And if it will be too late, both of them would happen. And people were telling me, you're fear-mongering and it's really, really bad and everything is bad. And now, okay, so drastic measures have happened to all of us. So hopefully not that many people will die, but I'm actually becoming a lot more optimistic than I was. And the reason that I'm becoming a lot more optimistic is that I see the amount of effort. We have basically our entire industry or high-tech industry, or a lot of it, and a lot of the army, and a lot of really smart people are working. And some of them would come with some solutions, and some solutions are already almost out, like much faster testing at scale. And those will make a big difference. So while I don't think it's going to be over like in a week or so, I think it's not going to be close to, you know, the end of the world or anything. So hopefully in a month we'll get out, and hopefully solutions will come soon after that. So this is what I plan to talk about today. And I'll be happy to answer any questions about anything. Okay, so if no questions, then thanks everybody, and hope this was.
And I would just like to say before we finish, first, thank you, Dad. And stay tuned. There will probably be more interesting things coming out, you know, from Israel, but from around the world in general. For those who have heard this little speech, I'm sorry. For those who haven't, I'm starting this session is a part of a program that I've started of education online. We have lots of different sessions happening all the time, and I'm now trying to understand what people are looking for, what times of the day and the week you're more available. So I'm now going to post a short survey in the chat, and if you can just fill it out very, very quickly, that would be amazing. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
I think there are some questions here.
Oh, yes.
So if you can get, we'll put on the chat the voice testing. Do we have it? Did you put the website of the voice testing on, Rotem?
No, I put the survey. Let's see. Do you want to put this?
Yeah. Do you have it? The voice, the Voca AI, the one. I'll copy it in there.
Yeah.
So
oh, you're doing it?
Yeah, I'll put it there.
Okay. And then Steve, I will be posting the recording online as well. Yes.
And then Rotem, if we want to listen again, where do we find it online?
So I and probably my dad will post it on Facebook. And
I just put the website where you can donate if you know people that we have enough, I think, people that are known not to. If you think you might or you want to give daily, this will be very useful.
All right. So thank you very, very much, everyone. We will keep you tuned. If you want, in 20 minutes, there's a live show of Idan Reichel that you're welcome to join. The details are on the calendar. And tomorrow evening, Dad, you're doing a talk about tango inventions. Is that
Right. So my talk tomorrow, I'll be talking tomorrow about inventions that are related to Argentine tango. So it was not meant specifically for Rotem's congregation, but I think it may be interesting. And we'll see how many tango dancers join it. It turns out that, okay, so I'll explain how tango looks like if you go to a tango party. What happens is, as you come to the room, you kiss everybody. And then you dance in close embrace, which means a full hug with a partner for 10 minutes. And then you switch. And you do that for 3 hours. And by the end, it seems that everybody will be completely sick. So tango doesn't happen anymore, as you can probably guess anywhere. Marcelo just came back from Buenos Aires, where they stopped dancing tango, Israel and Europe. So there are like groups on Facebook which are, we can't do tango, what do we do now? Which have 7,000 people on them posting cooking and whatever. So tomorrow I'll be talking about inventions that were that I thought about while dancing. I shouldn't be thinking about things while I'm dancing. I should be dancing, but I'm not very good at not thinking. So I came up with a few ideas that could be interesting to people.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.